Nordics hold a special place in my heart. They were the first deck I ever brought to a locals, so of course when I saw that we got brand new Nordic support, I had to talk about it. I also realized that I'm about a week or two late talking about this new support, but that's because I wanted to get a lot of testing in and see how good I could possibly make this deck. Now of course, I don't think I had to test very much in order to tell you that all 4 of these brand new Nordic cards are extremely good for the deck, and you play all 4 of them. So the first really interesting piece of information that I found is that this deck blends extremely well with the new Brave token theme. You never have to use the normal summon effect of any of your Nordic monsters, and your deck is very much built around your Link 1. As a result, you can use the Brave token theme in order to ensure that your Link 1's effect can resolve by using it to negate an opponent's hand trap. On top of functioning as protection, the Brave token theme also gives you lots of card advantage. Your Link 1 for Nordics banishes cards you control or in your hand. They don't have to be monsters, so you can banish the spell cards that are given to you via Rite of Armesia in order to summon out your Nordic monsters from deck. This means that if you open Rite of Armesia and a Nordic monster, you can guarantee that you get to Thor, Loki, or Odin with some amount of protection. Additionally, we now have our Nordic Smith monster. This means that we're going to be able to get to a Nordic relic on top of getting to Thor, Loki, or Odin. Most of the time, you're going to be searching your continuous trap. As long as you control Thor, Loki, or Odin, this card is a once per turn, one-time negate for all cards your opponent controls. Additionally, thanks to us having our new Nordic Tuner monster, you're going to be able to retrieve whatever Nordic monster you used in order to summon your Link 1. It doesn't have to be the same monster, but you're always going to have at least one Nordic monster in grave since you used that monster to make the Link 1. Now your entire deck still does revolve around your Link 1. It's the easiest way to get to your boss monsters, and your boss monsters are really needed to use a lot of the cards in the deck. So you need to take advantage of this card as much as possible. And one of the best ways that I've found in order to take advantage of it, specifically going second, is to banish cards your opponent controls for your effect. You can do so through the effect of Mind Control or using Instant Fusion to summon Relinquished and then taking your opponent's card. Specifically with Relinquished, this means that you're going to be able to banish Relinquished and the monster that you took with Relinquished in order to summon 2 cards off of just your Instant Fusion if you're going second. In general, these cards are really good in this deck as well because this deck kind of struggles to go second. It's very reliant on its Link 1, and that means a lot of times if your Link 1 gets negated, you are kind of stuck. So being able to take cards and use them to gain advantage while simultaneously playing around opponents' card effects is extremely valuable in this deck. Now on top of using your opponent's monsters for your effect of your Link 1 if you're going second, you do have another method to keep your advantage rolling, and that's using quick play spell cards. The effect of your Link 1 to banish cards you control or in hand is not a cost. This means if your opponent hits you with something like an effect failure, you don't have to worry about losing 3 of your cards to 1 card. This also means that you can chain your own cards to the effect of your Link 1. So quick play spell cards are very, very useful here. You could use a card like Forbidden Lance, Forbidden Chalice, or Called by the Grave, resolve their effects, and then banish them so it doesn't feel like as hard of a minus. This is also a very good way to play around negates. If you chain a card like Forbidden Chalice to negate a card that is attempting to negate your Link 1, you can stop that and banish your Forbidden Chalice as one of the cards to summon Nordic monsters from deck. On top of that, you're not just limited to the quick play spell cards that I listed. Any quick play spell card could be used here in the exact same method. In particular, I think Super Polymerization is an extremely good option. Galaxy Cyclone is also a noteworthy card that's extremely good against a wide variety of matchups. Amongst our 4 brand new cards, the worst one is actually the Emergency Teleport. That's because it locks you into summoning either Thor, Loki, or Odin as long as you control the monster summoned by it. But it is important to still play as a searchable one-of in order to get out Thor, Loki, or Odin in specific scenarios. It's also not terrible to draw since your Brave token package can discard it, and it does have a graveyard effect that can be pretty useful. Although it's not new, I did want to point out Alvis the Nordic Alfar. This is a 1-card way to summon Thor, Loki, or Odin off of your Link 1. you banish this card and it functions as full material in order to get to Thor, Loki, or Odin via its own effect. I wanted to point this out because Hippo Carnival is a way to do the same thing, but this card is a bit more useful because it has other uses beyond just doing that. Finally, I'm forced to be the bearer of bad news here. I think Dragoons is mandatory in this deck for a very specific situation. If your Link monster gets its effect negated, and you have another Nordic monster on field, you can at least go into Verte. Without this, you are stuck in a very bad situation that will get you nowhere. Luckily, at least for this deck, they didn't hit Dragoon on the ban list, and Dark Magician, Red Eyes, they're not really bricks in this deck since you can banish those off of the effect of the Link 1 anyway. So unfortunately, it has a lot of synergy in this deck. I hate that they didn't hit Dragoons, but I think it's really good here. Here is the list that I ultimately came up with. I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about here. Considering the combos that I showed, I think the ratios are fairly self-explanatory. The only thing I might change here is, depending on the format, it might be a good idea to include Cosmic Cyclone or Super Polymerization into the main deck. Regardless, I think those cards are really good in the side deck, and I would always side Triple Cosmic Cyclone in this deck in particular because of its interactions with the Link 1. I also did want to mention that I did do the majority of the testing in this deck before Crossout Designator was confirmed to be in the tins, so I didn't get enough testing with it in order to confirm or deny whether or not it's really good in this deck. So if you want to try it out, give it a shot. I don't know if there's a whole lot of room in the main deck in order to use it, but it is something to try. The last thing that I wanted to mention is, while I do think this is the best way to run Nordics, I don't think Nordics are a tiered deck yet. Unfortunately, Thor, Loki, and Odin don't do enough on their own. Getting them out was alright in the 5Ds era, but nowadays, it just can't cut it. I think if this deck is to be improved, it needs to get a new Aesir monster. Whether that's a retrain of the Nordic gods or a brand new one, I think that ultimately needs to be what happens.